So I'm Diane Ross, and James Munro's here with me, and we work for UHI, which is University of the Highlands and Islands, Northwest and Hebrides. So I'm the curriculum leader for the equine courses, and James is our centre manager at a rural studies centre where all the equine provision takes place. So we're just going to go over some of the skills that we deliver, sort of the practical skills and the basic skills that we deliver that help our young people find work in the equine industry. And also we're going to look at the different areas and careers that you can find within the equine industry and relate those to the type of courses that you can do to train in that way. So we have a variety of courses that run from NPA level 4, which is in horse care, through sort of NC, HNC, through our degree and right up to postgraduate level, with some PDA awards in breeding and competition horse in there as well, which all relate to different areas of the equine industry, but we're going to chat about that as we go through our presentation. Oh, James.
Hi, so I'm James Munro, and I'm, as Diane said, the sort of manager of the yard where we provide all the practical part of the horse care. So what we're going to do is look at basically some of the horse care aspects, because for 90% of the horsey jobs, and we're going to run through different things, everybody must have a basic knowledge of the looking after of horses, and that's from like whether you start in a riding school and you're just a little helper to start with, or eventually go to be the yard manager. It's the care and welfare of the horse and looking after the animal, working, being confident around the animals, and being able to recognise when they're not well, when they're fit and healthy, if they're too fit and healthy and can be cheeky, and dealing with everything from young foals right up to breaking horses and breeding horses, and then riding skills and whatever, the care of the horse to get them ready for riding, etc. Feeding them and nutrition for them, because obviously that's one of the most important things, that you feed them the right food and they get the nutrition to make them look well, keep their skins good, and about the difference between feeding a Highland pony and the difference feeding a thoroughbred that's ready for the racetrack. And everybody has to do the mucking out, I'm afraid. So no matter whether you're managing director of the biggest equine facility ever, on Christmas Day there is very hard to get staff in, and every one of us have to muck out. I muck out nearly every day. We have students come in and they do the mucking out, but I'm also there at the end of a fork. And tack and knowledge and care of the tack. It's tack as well as the horses. We're going to speak more about the horses, but horses now are valuable animals, and it is. I'll give you an example. As well as doing the college, I show horses and compete horses showing, and to various success. I've won Horse of the Year show. I've won the Highland Show Hunter Championship. I've won Small Hunters there 4 years in a row. So we've always got horses coming through. We went to Ireland with an owner 2 weeks ago and came home with 6 horses, having spent nearly 100,000 on these 6 horses. And to go on these horses, you're buying tack. Now, there's a picture of the tack room there. the saddle that's sort of on the left with the white number was nearly £2,000. And it's not just, you know, a saddle that can be thrown on the ground. That the knowledge of the cost of the tack, and that how important it is to keep it clean, keep it supple, keep it soft, and the fitting of it for the comfort and what suits the horse best. And the riding, now people think, oh, you know, I don't ride well enough to work with horses, or, you know, I'm a bit frightened of jumping, etc. Riding is part of the course that we offer. So most of the courses have a riding element in it. But you don't have to ride to do a horse job. In the equine industry, not everybody has to ride. Loads of yard managers don't ride. They manage the yard, they manage the riding school, they do the day-to-day running of it. So the riding is not something that you necessarily have to be able to do. There's lots of people that work in the equine industry who don't ride, but they do have the understanding of riding. And we think it's really important that the students we have watch students that ride, so that they have the understanding of the people that are riding and what would be expected. For example, the fitting of the tack, how, if it doesn't fit correctly, the result it could have on the way the horse is when it's ridden. So we're going to have a little look at the different, now these are just a snapshot of some of the careers in the equine industry. And everybody thinks there's the groom. The groom is somebody who comes in, mucks out, and brushes off the horses. Now, there's the groom who works in the riding school and may muck out the horses. They will tack them up, get them ready for lessons, make sure that they're brushed off and clean. Then there's grooms who work for all of the top riders in the country that go to the Olympics. Every Olympic rider will have 4 or 5 grooms. Now, and that's not necessarily in this country, but all over the world, there's competition riders. And for example, if you went to the Olympic Games, I would say that 50% of grooms, the competition grooms, come from Britain, because they usually have had a good grounding, a good training, and they're looking after that most valuable animal that rider has, and the responsibility of getting it ready to compete at the biggest stage it could compete on. And then there's various levels between the riding school to that level. People have private grooms. They may only have 4 or 5 horses at home. They don't have the time to look after them. And some of these grooms will have riding opportunities that they exercise the horses when the people can't ride them. So a groom is not just sort of this lowly job. It's the most important, I think, one of the most important jobs within the yard is the people who look after the horses. Then you move on to the instructor and the coach. Now, we teach people to teach, and one of the most difficult things ever in the world to do is to teach teachers. And it's quite difficult. But with it, if you want to go into the instructing coach route, you have to understand people and the delivery and the different methods of teaching. Some people like to be almost stroked, and you have to encourage them and be very encouraging. Then there's other people that you teach who would rather say, if you thought it was bad, tell me it's bad and I will make it better. And there's various ways of telling that. And in the instructor, it is that you're teaching people from 3-year-old children right up to someone. I've taught somebody who for their 65th birthday got a riding lesson in a Christmas present. So that was the first time they'd ever sat on their horse. But then on the sort of coaching side, which is slightly different, the coach tends to coach competition people. And then it's more individual teaching. And then your teaching is at a higher level, and you have to keep your teaching skills up to that level. And the delivery of that is, it's almost less instructing and more just that bit needs to be better. It's almost less talking, but you're the eye to the person that's riding on the ground. A stable manager. Now, more and more in Scotland, there is becoming the competition centres. So rather than the riding schools, they're opening competition centres, and the stable manager would really be the person that's in charge of the horsey part of it. They have stables, and most of the competition horses have state horses on site, but the majority of their customers are people who go and compete at that centre. There's a big multi-million-pound centre going up in Aberdeen at the moment, who is a big restaurant. They have a retail outlet. They have 2 surfaces that they are out, a big indoor arena, outdoor surfaces, cross-country fences. And that person must manage all of the horse part of it and have the financial awareness of what everything costs and how much the arenas, they can hire an arena out that's making them money and costing everything, and the price of livery for keeping horses at these centres, and the whole buying of feed, which is very expensive now. The feed prices have gone up, straw have gone up, and hay has gone a bit through the roof. And they've got to have that understanding of what the costings to run the centre is. So their management background must be very good, and managing staff, because obviously as the manager they will have staff to manage. And you find that because it's an event centre, they have to run events that people, the equine industry, are demanding at the moment. So whether it's British show jumping or bringing in, international trainers to teach at their centre, to run arena events, but they've got to have their sort of finger on the pulse of what people require at the moment. Then we could go on to the blacksmith. Now, to be a blacksmith, as the last speaker had said, he wanted to go to Oakridge and be a blacksmith and whatever. You must have that basic understanding of horses and know how to work with horses. And we feel that, with the good grounding that they have, doing the NC equine, for instance, it starts you off on that, understanding the conformation, the basic handling of horses, how to manage a difficult horse. And then obviously they would go on to somewhere and learn the actual blacksmith skills. But before they can do that, they must have the sort of horsey understanding. More and more people for now are, where it's a sole trader, owner of a livery yard, riding school. We find in smaller areas and with diversification, farmers now are going on to, renting out sheds or loose boxes. They're converting them into stables and providing livery. And that farmer would be very good with stock, but might not be hands-on with horses and anything equine. And quite often the farmer will employ someone that has a qualification in equine to be able to run that livery yard. Or we've had farmers come on to courses that they have an understanding of working with horses, so that when they're employing people, they can go in there and help them and see what they can do to do it and have an understanding of the horses and the types of feed that the horses use, etc. So you'll see that there's mounted police, you know, there's the horsey au pair. Now that's another big area for someone who, a working parent, who have children, who have horses. They may have horses of their own. We have put on, students that we've had have gone on, and that is a very common job at the moment, with the parents working and you're employed to look after the children, but also look after the horses and take the ponies for the kids and get them going during the day and the holidays, and take them to little shows and things. And that's become a very common job around Scotland at the moment. But we'll draw it to that there are hundreds of jobs or different kinds of equestrian employment out there. And there is a big market for jobs. I was on a page the other day, there were 250 jobs, horsey jobs in stables, looking for staff. And if you have a passion for horses, which that's the one thing you must have, is a passion for horses, and horses become your life, then there's all these jobs out there for them. And we can facilitate the learning to help you get on with a job that you've always wanted to do. So, are there any questions that you would like to ask?
Thank you so much for that, Diane and James. We've opened up questions there, so if anybody has any questions at all about equine, the career pathways into equine, any apprenticeships or any of the different roles, feel free to post now. I'll leave that open for a wee minute. So can both of you just tell us briefly, like a little summary as to what your day-to-day looks like then when you're at UHI? So you talked about training the teachers, you talked about obviously working, like horses are your life and you have your own horses. So what does your job look like on a day-to-day basis?
Well, my job is a funny job, because I come in the, well, I'll give you today, for instance. This is a bit of an odd day today. So at 6:30 this morning, we got a phone call saying that we have an owner that has horses with us. Their new lorry was arriving at our stables, where the college are, at 8 o'clock, and the guy needs to be on a train to get back to the south of England at 8:30 from Thursday. And so we were down here, and got delivery of the lorry. I have no idea how anything works on it, and it would cost more than anybody's house, this lorry. So then at 9 o'clock, the students arrive. We have mucked out, I've mucked out some. So 2 of us have mucked out some of the horses. The students come in, they do their mucking out. They have a quick break, change their clothes, and then we ride. So I taught from 10:30 to 12, and today was a jumping day, so the students jumped. The students that are doing the sort of lesser riding route, they stand with me and we look at the jumping and we measure the distances of the course. Then we have lunch, then we come back. Then this afternoon we were going on about reflecting on what they did this morning, because they have to write an essay on their reflection of how they're riding, and discussed that. And then went to do a bit of a practical thing on lunging. And then we all go and finish horses, feed horses. And then I made the excuse, I have to come here, so everything else is getting done. And that's the end of our day.
My day is slightly different. I work between working from home, organising all the staff and where they're supposed to be in their timetables. I work in our main college campus in Thurso, and I come out to my favourite place out of the Rural Studies Centre. So I came out for this talk. So I come out and see the students, yeah. So my job's very varied. as is James's job. So we just react to whatever situation we're given, I think.
It's the best job ever.